Welcome everybody to RBR Back the Show, where we take a look at a horror movie, and we have the conclusion of the X trilogy coming out now, Maxxxine. So we thought we'd go back and take a look at X.
So I've seen Pearl. I've watched these out of order, I guess, but I've never seen X. So I sat down to watch this with my daughter, which was a mistake.
Yeah, I should have warned you, I think.
You should have warned us. You should have warned us about that. Slightly uncomfortable couple of hours, but never mind. We got through it. This was really interesting. Very different to Pearl, I thought.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Pearl is like a psychological character analysis, whereas this is just a fun, silly slasher. So I remember going to the cinema to see this. I don't think I had seen a trailer. I didn't know anything about it. I think I'd heard that it was inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but other than that, I didn't know what I was going into. And I absolutely loved it. It's really a testament to a film when the characters are so entertaining that you almost don't need the horror element to even come in. Like, I would just watch a movie that was about those characters, you know?
Porn people. You just watch porn, is what you're saying.
We should say adult film stars from now on, just in case we trigger the YouTube gods. But yeah, no, I just think it's just a really, really fun, like, it's filthy, absolutely filthy, but it's good, fun characters. There's themes in here, cool villains. I love it, man.
I absolutely loved this. I preferred it to Pearl. I think we've talked before, and I told you Pearl was a bit weird, I felt. This felt more kind of cohesive in terms of I knew and understood what was going on. Young people in a house, mad old people trying to kill them. It wasn't trying to be too complicated. I thought some of the kills in it were absolutely spot on. I loved the dynamic of the decrepit old folk who aren't running around. They're just kind of
shuffling slowly.
Yeah. I do think I enjoyed knowing the backstory of Pearl. I liked knowing how that had started, but I kind of wish I'd watched this in order.
I think there's an argument for either. Like, I think Pearl adds an interesting context when you watch this movie for the first time, and I think when you watch this and then go back to Pearl, you see the kind of genesis of some of that character as well. So I think there's an argument for either, but those two movies work so well in tandem together. So a little bit of background about the movie. It's directed by Ty West. I thought this was one of his first movies, but he's actually done quite a few like one-off horror films, most of which I'd never heard of. But he also did Cabin Fever 2, and yeah, it's inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. One of the best performances I've probably ever seen in a horror movie. Mia Goth is incredible. As Maxxxine, you know, she's very driven, kind of leading this. Her performance as Pearl in this, I remember coming out of the cinema, I didn't learn until afterwards that that's her in makeup. I was absolutely stunned. I just assumed, like, some of the best makeup effects I think I've ever seen in a movie as well.
Unrecognizable. But I guess, having watched Pearl first, that confused us a little. I was trying to work out what the link is, because it's the same actress. Are you just meant to suspend belief that they just look very similar?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. I think they're both very ambitious. Both of them want to be stars. A lot of the dialogue between the two of them are the same. The interesting thing is, like, Maxxxine is like, I will not accept a fate I do not deserve, whereas Pearl very much does do that. You know, she's kind of living this life she didn't want to live. I love how sympathetic they portray the elderly couple, in spite of the fact that we've seen them do horrific things. Like, they kill people in this movie. They're keeping a guy in the basement, milking him presumably, you know. But there's some really tender moments. Like, there's a moment where I think Brittany Snow is doing a cover of Landslide. She goes to her husband and he just says no, and she's like taking her makeup off slowly, and you really kind of feel for her. And I think at that point you don't know that she's doing anything bad. But then even later on, after we see all this happen, she's sitting with the husband again, and he's just explaining to her that, yeah, I can't do this. And I think it is heartbreaking in spite of the fact that these are monsters, you know. And I think the idea of, like, as you get older, your sex appeal goes down, your ability to have sex goes down, but your desire for it doesn't necessarily. I think that's a really interesting theme for a movie to tackle.
I thought it was quite heart-wrenching at points, but freaky as well. I mean, when she climbs into bed with the young Maxxxine and she's touching her skin, that's just awful.
Yeah, or she's kissing the director, RJ.
It's
like, yeah. I think the cast in this are just across the board excellent. Like Brittany Snow, who I remember from a lot of the kind of late 2000s movies, as Bobby Lynn. I think this was her first nude scene, and she just like goes all in. I think she's just really a really fun, bubbly, sex positive character. I think really added a lot to this. I also like how she's like a good person. A lot of the characters like help out the old couple when they think there's something wrong. They don't feel forced to, you know, they just want to.
I think all of the characters are portrayed as really good people. I mean, the army vet, you know, who's been 2 tours of Nam and things like that, he wades into the lake trying to look for the old lady.
Us vets got to stick together, you know.
Yeah, so I think they're all played as very nice people, which is interesting because they're shooting a dirty movie, and it would have been very easy to lean into the sleazy kind of underworld of that, you know, but that doesn't feature in this, I don't think. I think it features that actually these are just decent people who are, like you say, sex positive and shooting a movie.
Well, there's even like a conversation about that in the middle of the movie where where Jenna Ortega's character Lorraine is asking about why you're doing this and convinces her to be in the film. I mean, my heart broke for RJ, like the boyfriend. And he's just like, no. And she's like, oh, but I want to do it. I do think if he just explained to her that, hey, I don't want to see that, like I'm not comfortable with that, maybe she would have been. But I like to have the argument just kind of escalated. It's his own fault as well, because his like delusions, oh, I want to put some avant-garde in this film, you know, and I'm making this is a piece of art. So he kind of talked the movie up so much that like obviously she'd want to be in it. Kid Cudi I think is great. Do you know Kid Cudi?
I am down with the kids. I recognize the name.
Dude hangs dong. You see it swinging in the shadow when he answers the door.
Oh yes.
Like, Jesus. Yeah. The producer character, Wayne, was really fun. I love how when he comes outside and he's just the door opens, he's got his tighty whities on. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. I liked him.
Another stepping on a nail.
I liked this one. I felt it. And it didn't shy away from it. Do you know what I mean? I love the camera work on that particular scene. It just shows you the nail, shows you him walking towards it, and he just walks into it. I thought that was really well done. I liked him. This film, I think, looking at the nail scene as well, it doesn't shy away from telling you what's going to happen before it happens. So you get that scene with the nail, you get the scene then with him looking through the holes in the wall, and you know something's coming through that to poke his eyes out. And sure enough, that's what happens. But it was that anxiety of waiting for it to happen that I thought was really powerful.
There's some absolutely fantastic kills in this. Pitchfork in the eye, RJ getting stabbed in the neck. Like, I think the first stab is so unexpected, it's kind of out of nowhere, and then she just keeps doing it until his head is basically lopped off. The alligator eating Brittany Snow. And I like how it's actually like it's accurate, because like alligators, when they grab something, they just spin constantly, and you can actually see in the water that's why it's doing it. It's just horrific. I think they set that up really well earlier in the movie. One of my favorite shots in any movie is when Mia Goth in the lake, and it's the top-down perspective, and she's swimming out.
You can see it just come towards her.
Oh, just absolutely terrifying. Jenna Ortega getting shot in the head is good fun as well. That was
that was very good. I thought the kills were all incredibly well done. I really enjoyed it. The kill I liked the best, really, I suppose, was the car driving over Pearl's head. And it just kind of pops her head when she's escaping at the very end. I thought that was great.
Just the ending sequence, I think, is so fun. Like Pearl shooting the gun and just going flying at the back. Yeah, like getting run over. I thought it was great. And I really like the twist at the end that, you know, we see this kind of televangelist character throughout the movie, and it's kind of juxtaposing his like religious preachings with the kind of seediness of what the characters are doing. To find out at the end that Maxxxine is his daughter, that he's mentioned kind of a couple of times, I thought was a really good twist, and kind of adds to her.
Do you think he's going to feature in the next movie then? Do you think he's going to be...
I didn't think about that. I wonder. I wouldn't be against it. I'd like to actually I think that'd be a really interesting element. Maybe he's the Night Stalker.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Trying to cleanse the sin from the world that his daughter's involved with.
Sorry if that's a spoiler for Maxxxine. We'll see. We'll find out. So, a little bit of trivia about the movie. The man found tied up in the basement can be seen earlier on a missing persons ad on the milk carton Jackson drinks from.
I missed that. I thought the person tied up was the camera guy who should stabbed in the throat at the start. I didn't realise it was a different person. I can't remember, unless I've just forgotten, that we learned that Pearl's husband was a crazy bloke as well. So him being a killer as well in this was a bit of a surprise to us.
Did he come back and there's bodies just in the room, wasn't there?
I think he comes back at the very end. Is that not when she's smiling because he's walking up the road towards her or something?
That guy's performance, Howard, I think his character's name was great as well, you know.
Love the bit at the start where he's kind of showing them around the house, and then he just stops and goes, yeah, I don't like you. I don't like you. It's like, oh, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Wayne takes it in his stride, you know. Yeah. I think the scene where he has sex with Pearl and Maxxxine is under the bed, I think it's just great as well.
Oh god.
Several characters' deaths are foreshadowed in various ways throughout the movie. So when Bobby Lynn exits the strip club at the beginning of the film, a large mural depicting a blonde woman with an alligator pulling off her bikini is seen on the building. Wayne mentions to RJ that, quote, people's eyes are going to pop out of their skulls about the movie they're making before being stabbed in the face with a pitchfork.
Yeah, and his eye comes out, doesn't it?
His eye pops out, yeah, absolutely. Wayne at one point states, quote, never mention a woman's weight. When Howard is dragging Lorraine's body, he mentions she's heavier than she looks before Lorraine's body twitches, causing his heart attack. Jackson mentioned several times that he was threatened by farmers with guns while serving in Vietnam. He's ultimately killed by Howard with a shotgun.
That was a sad death, right? I liked him.
You know, he just wanted to help. When Howard and Jackson go looking for Pearl, Howard mentions his worry that Pearl will fall and break her hip. When Pearl fires the shotgun at Maxxxine, the recoil causes her to fly through the air and break her hip upon landing. So I thought that was one I did catch. I thought that was funny. And finally, during a 2-week mandatory mandatory COVID quarantine in his New Zealand hotel before production began. Ty West wrote a prequel to the film titled Pearl. A24 saw the script and greenlit the movie before production on X had even wrapped. He asked star Mia Goth if she wished to remain in New Zealand and film Pearl, which she readily accepted. So yeah, future of the franchise Pearl, it's definitely more kind of psychological. There is some like slasher elements I guess in it, but just seeing just the absolute insanity that character goes through is interesting. And this is the first time I've gone back and watched the movie since seeing Pearl. It adds a lot, I feel.
Both of them are very good. I'm hoping Maxxxine knocks it out of the park, and then if it does, this will be a very successful little trilogy.
We're seeing Maxxxine made it to Hollywood, I guess, so very curious to see where the story goes. There's also talk of a fourth film. Ty West has talked about it lately that he's writing one at the moment, so curious now if that'll be like another Pearl thing where it's like maybe between Pearl and X like later on, or is he going to do another Maxxxine story?
I guess we could get the story of the guy chained up in the basement then, couldn't we?
Could do. I feel like he's going to keep Mia Goth, you know, she's the star, isn't she? But yeah, I think it's interesting that each film I think tackles like different style of horror film. Like this is the grungy Texas Chainsaw kind of style one. Pearl is the psychological one. I think Maxxxine is kind of the neon soaked Suspiria-esque one. So see what else he wants to do. But I think it's a fantastic series. I don't think enough people watched it, to be honest. So any final thoughts on X?
I loved it. It was very different to what I expected. It kept us entertained all the way through. I thought it had some brilliant kills in, and I genuinely liked all of the characters in it. And not just because I had boobies. I liked all of them in terms of their personalities. I thought it was really, really good. Thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
For me, I mean, likable characters, just a great script, great dialogue, great villains, great kills. Just it sets a tone, you know, and it's just good fun, silly slasher. So
the only thing that would have improved it would be if Nicolas Cage had been part of the porn movie they were shooting. If Nick Cage had been part of the Dirty movie, you know, that would have been good.
We don't even need to find a fun way to get to talking about his PP.
I wonder what face and noises Nick Cage makes when he ejaculates.
Oh my god! And that's I'll Be Right Back on X. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, leave a like. We review all the latest horror movies in the cinema, and we have episodes of I'll Be Right Back on various movies. This is like our 21st episode, so go check that out. Don't forget to check out One Good Scare live every second Friday, and we'll be right back next time with...
It's twice the fright of the first night. Fright Night 2.
It's happening again.
They're back, and they want more than blood. They want revenge.
It is war. We must prepare.
So you thought Fright Night was the scariest? Think twice. Fright Night 2. Rated R.
Never, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.